Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by and please consider subscribing. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. So in this tutorial, I'll be showing us how I snatched this Bustier blouse. So I already have the patterns already and I have a tutorial on how I made this pattern. I'll leave it in the description box below. So I cut the lining, the lace, and what I'll be using to line the lace. So now for the pieces I'll be using for the snatching, I'm gonna use this lining. So I cut it in the actual measurement of the client. But because I want to snatch out some measurement, I want to take out 1 inch on the side back and the side seam. And because this is on fold, the side back is on fold, the side front is on fold. So taking out 1 inch, from each of it, that makes it 4. So I'm taking out 4 inches altogether. Now, if you do not have any much allowance around the bust and the hip, you can just make it only at the waistline. Okay, just connect from your bust measurement to the 1 inch you will snatch from the waistline. Or better still, if you're drafting it, when you're drafting it, you take out whatever measurement you want to take out from the waist, for the snatching, and then you draft it with that measurement, so you will need to cut out this. But because I already have the pattern, that's why I'm taking out this method. So now I have taken out some measurements, okay, and then I'll go ahead now and join the middle back to the side back and the middle front to the side front, and I'll do the same thing to the fabric. So because the concentration is on the lining, that's where I'll have to bring in the lacing panel. So after sewing all of that, I fold the back panel and I want to cut out the panel that I'll be using for the snatching. So now I brought in this lining that I used after cutting the lining for the blouse. I'll place the back on this lining. You place it such that what you have will cover till the zipper allowance. You will need the zipper allowance because after snatching we'll now use the zip, but for the panel you will not need the zipper allowance. So from the armhole I came down with 2 inches, and from the hem there I went up with 5 inches because I won't be snatching the hip. So since the concentration is just around the waist, that's why I'm taking out this measurement. And of course we have a full blouse here. You place it such that the panel that you'll be cutting will include the zipper allowance. That's what I'm trying to arrange now. After cutting it, I'll take out the zipper allowance because of course we are trying to snatch and we won't need that zipper allowance. So I'll cut it now exactly what I have first. Okay, exactly what I have. At the side there, I'm cutting out the curve that I have, on the side. So when I cut it out, I will now take out this 5 inches I measured from the hem, and then at the armhole there, I'll come down with 2 inches. So I'm simply cutting into the armhole. So of course I will have the measures with which I can measure out what I want to measure out. I'm taking out the zipper allowance. So I'll draw a line so I'll know what I'm cutting. So I'll measure in the 1 inch, like I said, that's for the zipper. So I'll just simply take out this zipper so we'll have a good snatch. When I'm done with that, I'll simply cut, the lines that I've drawn out. Okay, so after cutting it, I had to notch it so that I will know which part goes for the zipper. Because already it's cuffy, both sides are cuffy, so I want to be sure of the zipper part, okay, so that when I'm sewing it, I'll sew it to the blouse properly. So I went ahead to use boning. Of course, when you're snatching, you need boning. I added interface, and that's how I made the boning, okay, two to the edge. I left some parts, a space in between, and two more, and then some more. Now if you need to add more boning, you can go ahead and do it. I have a tutorial on how to make invisible boning. I'll leave it in the description box below. So now I'll go ahead and turn this with the lining. Remember we cut this on fold, and I made two, making all four pieces, two for each side, two for each side. So now for the lining part, there'll be no boning, because out of the two, I only use one part of it to make the boning. So now I'll use the other part that I did not, insert boning. I'll use it to turn this other part. Now I use ridgeline boning for this. I'll go ahead and sew it using 1/2 inch. Okay, and do it to the two sides. So to have a neat finishing, I'll turn the top and the bottom of this boning panel. So we'll have a neat finishing. So I'll use 1/2 inch to sew it, both the top and the back, and then I'll turn it to the right side again before I'll do this placing. So the placing will be on the back side, because that's where we'll be doing the snatching. For the front, I'll just take out the seam allowance, when I bring it on the back panel. So this is the boning panel. After I have sewn it, I took out the 1/2 inch, and then I'll turn it inside out like I said. So turning it inside out can be a bit, tacky, but of course you need to take your time. That's because of the boning. So when you bring it in, you bring it out to the right side, you give it a good press. And of course you're doing it to the two sides. So you give it a good press, and then we'll bring it back to attach it to the lining. So at this point, I'll bring in the back panel, because that's where we'll be placing the boning panels. Okay, so like I said, I measured 2 inches from the armhole line. I measured 2 inches downward, and that's exactly where I'll be placing this. And you see the curve that it blends to the side back. Okay, so I'm placing the second panel, and then I'll sew this down, bringing in the front panel of the lining. Now everything is on the lining, not the main fabric. So I'll bring the front panel and take out the side seams that I have left. I'll sew the shoulder as well and give it a good press. So when I'm done with that, this is what it looks like. And this is the inside. So the next thing, I'll bring in the main fabric, which I said I'm using lace. So I've inserted zipper, and I've sewn out exactly how I sewed the lining. So I'm doing inseam finishing with this. I'll simply bring in the zipper allowance of the lining and the zipper allowance of the main fabric. I'll sew it on the zipper. Now be careful so not to sew it on the zip. That's just to give it a good finishing. So then I will take the other side of the zipper as well. Note how I turn it so that you will not twist it anywhere. So I'll sew it on the zipper as well with the main fabric like the other side. So when I'm done with that, I'll turn the neck and turn the hem and top stitch. After top stitching, I'll give it a good press. Now when you're sewing it, be careful that you make all the joinings to come together. That's to give it a relaxed look. And then at the neckline too. So after sewing it, I've inserted my sleeves, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so the way I placed it, I thought the boning parts would face up. Okay, but after sewing it, it's just the lining part that faced up. But of course, it will still serve the purpose. So I went ahead to insert the the eyelet, but I just want us to see one of it, how I went about it. So now when I was sewing the boning, like I said, I used two bonings, in front, left a space in between, and then another boning. So the space in between is for the eyelet. So the eyelet, I will simply make a hole. I have already taken out measurements, okay, of how I want the spacing of the eyelet. So now this is how the eyelet looks like. Okay, so this is the size I'm using, and it will have a cover that has a rough part and a smooth part. So the smooth part is the one that will face up, the rough part will go in between. So I'll bring it in into the hole that I have made. Note where you want the front to be. Okay, the front of it to be, everything has to be uniformed. So I'll push it in. Try not to make the hole too much. Okay, so you will not have too much space around the eyelet. And after putting it through the hole, this is the eyelet machine that I want to use. So you'll be in the front part, insert it to the eyelet machine and bring that smooth part of the eyelet to cover it. So the rough part, like I said, will face down, while the smooth part will be the one facing up. So of course it will have contact with your skin and it will not hurt. So after inserting it, I'll simply press this down and make it hard enough for it to be tight, okay, and then it won't come out easily.